Hi, thank you for joining me here again, Kevin Lentz, Trinity Badger Ranch, for our Thursday devotion. I hope you've been enjoying Ian's and Alyssa's devotions as well on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I've been looking at the book of 1 Corinthians, and so we're going to pick up now today with chapter 11. It's kind of a long chapter, so we won't look at the whole thing, of course, but I do want to highlight some of the passages. Verses 11 and 12 first says, "In the Lord, however, woman is not independent of man, nor is man independent of woman." His point was being that men and women need both to survive, to exist, to give thanks for one another, to celebrate one another, to have children, clearly. So we give thanks that it's not just a creation of just men, not just a creation of just women, but God made both for each other. That's why he said they're not independent of each other. And verse 12, "For as woman came from man," meaning Eve, God took Adam's rib and made Eve with that, "so also man is born of woman. But everything comes from God." So you see that the woman's origination, the first woman, Eve, came from a man, and all of us now, including men as well as women, come from births from our mothers. So again, it's just a need for both to work together and give thanks for that. Now he changes gears and starts talking about the Lord's Supper. Now these first couple of verses will sound familiar. Verses 23 to 25. "For I received from the Lord what I also passed on to you. The Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, 'This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me.' In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, 'This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me.'" Those words are the words of institution. What's interesting about them here, though, is that they're recorded in the Gospels, and this is the only place in the Gospels this is the only place they are recorded that's not one of the Gospel books. So St. Paul, in writing to the Corinthians, is teaching them about the importance of the Lord's Supper and how he begins in teaching them saying, "Hey, this supper that you share, know that it came from Christ. It's not my meal. It's not even the church's meal. It's Christ's body and Christ's blood." So he gives them the same words that are in, like I say, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where Jesus is quoted there. He goes on to say in verse 26, "For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes." How great is that? Now, we don't maybe think about that when we go up to communion. We're thankful to receive the sacrament. We know that we're receiving forgiveness and our faith is strengthened, and we're part of a body, one unit, the one cup and the one bread. But it also says that when you go forward, you are making a profession of faith. He says, whenever you eat this sacrament, you proclaim Christ's death until he comes back. So that's a pretty wonderful way for us to say, I believe in Jesus. I believe he died for me. I believe that Jesus rose again. He's living now, and I'm eating the body and blood in with and under the bread and wine as a believer because I believe Christ is behind this supper. So we are saying, I have faith simply by going to the sacrament. We'll look also at verse 28. "A person ought to examine himself before he eats of the bread and drinks of the cup." That's just simply good, practical, faithful advice that before we go up to receive the sacrament, we should pause and think about our lives. Am I a sinner? Yes. Has Christ died for me? Yes. Am I redeemed? Yes. Do I believe Christ is truly present in the sacrament? Yes. So it's a good idea to kind of reflect on who we are receiving the sacrament as children of God and as Christ had done for us. Maybe you want to offer a prayer, or maybe you want to kind of ask yourself some questions. But before we go and receive the sacrament itself, the Lord's Supper, we should just take a minute and just pause and say just how important it is that I'm about to receive this supper. So just take a second, reflect on it, put everything else out of your mind, and just say it's time for me to now be one with Christ as he comes to me himself. So thank you for joining me here today. I pray all is well, and if you're able, I'd love for you to join us on Sunday morning. God bless. Bye-bye.